Welcome to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex. Today we're going to be taking a look at 5 games, mostly new releases that I played recently that may be worth a pickup or at least an add to that wish list. We're going everywhere from SpongeBob to fashionable shooters to a Pokemon clone. So with that, let's get started. If you do enjoy the content, then consider subscribing, helps the channel a huge amount, and we have daily videos that's going to be deals, reviews and lists. SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake was a spiritual successor to the cult classic Battle for Bikini Bottom, and I was playing this one in the lead up to launch. Now I was mostly enjoying it, but the game had some serious weaknesses, namely the frame rate on a few levels just completely bottomed out, especially when it came to the end game. Now as we did hit the embargo for reviews, however, a patch was released, and while it didn't fix it entirely, it was a massive improvement, so I've spent some time now revisiting and working through the content to ensure the opinion here is as up to date as possible. Now in its current state of that performance, it still has its moments, but it is not enough to damage what is, in my opinion, an entertaining 3D platformer. The story, we come across a mermaid with wish-granting magic and proceed to undo the fabrics of this world. Now we must save our friends and put it all back together. Basically, we have Bikini Bottom as the kind of hub world, and then the levels, they are portals, each with their own unique theme. Think cowboys, pirates, underwater caves. The platforming is solid though, the levels are well designed, and there's some quality jokes, which is kind of what you would expect from the name. I also like the fact your skill set, it expands as you progress, from kung fu kicks to a grapple hook maneuver. Not everything is good. For some it's going to be way too easy. Some of the moves, I'd describe them as temperamental in regards to response, and the end game, it is definitely lacking after this 6-hour journey. That all said though, I do think it is a worthy follow-up, and it's a good 7 out of 10 from me. Fashion Police Squad is a blast, a retro-styled first-person shooter, but instead of demons or an evil army, we're battling against victims of fashion, those that are unstylish in this world of Trendtopia, a place that essentially demands you look good. Think oversized and undersized clothing, sandals with socks or garish colour schemes. It sounds a little strange, and honestly it is, but it's got some great jokes packed into it all. Even the story, it's throwaway stuff, but it is entertaining, a simple case of getting to the bottom of who is influencing all of these different people, and it packs some fantastic characters. It's the weapons though that are the highlight. Sock goblins, a sewing machine, a soap gun and more. They each have their own unique use and must be specifically selected for each enemy type. The sewing machine, for example, will tighten up suits, while sock goblins, you guessed it, they steal the socks from those in sandals. Throw in then secondary abilities like the soap gun allowing you to move faster, a special move that slaps fashion sense into the victims in this world, and then a grenade that traps foes. There's even a belt which you can whip to stun your enemies, but also then to swing around the world. It's just full of creativity. There's definitely some issues, a few minor frame rate drops, the belt swinging takes some time to get used to, and the weapon selection wheel, it is a little slow in busier areas, so you can feel somewhat overwhelmed. But honestly, the story, the comedy, it all absolutely shined, and I had a blast with this one. Today, it's a great 8 out of 10 from me. Gunscape then is another shooter, a newer release as well, and I love the concept, a retro-styled first-person shooter with a focus placed upon community, meaning we can get in here, we can build our own levels with a relatively simple built-in tool, and then we can share them. This could be single levels, it could be full-on campaigns. It's similar of course to titles like Doom and Quake, that is never a bad thing, and even just loading in, there's a huge amount of content already on offer with ratings provided by the player base. That rating as well a great thing because there's some awful designs in here, so that's somewhat a direction at least to what is going to be a fun experience. Basically though, for this one I'm going to say the potential is no question here, but the problems, there's no cross-platform for the competitive multiplayer, so it's nearly empty already. That for me is a big draw for a shooter like this. Additionally, the enemy variety is nice, but I didn't find their attack patterns all of that exciting, and the controls, I couldn't get all of that comfortable with them. Something just felt a little off for me personally, especially when our level was pushing me into doing more platforming over shooting. All of that said though, there is a fun game in here if you're willing to dig for those single player campaigns. The multiplayer really would benefit from crossplay, and if you do like the building games, it's probably going to be a safe bet as it's a simple process of dragging and dropping blocks, even if the UI itself is a bit on the convoluted side of things. I'm not attaching a score today, I've only sunk maybe a few hours into this one. I'd definitely consider it above average, but it's definitely a game that's going to reward a little digging and patience from the player base. It could definitely do some amazing things though if the console release builds up that user base over time. Coromon is one that I've been chipping away at now for some time. It's been my game I pick up and play for 15 minutes here and there. I have a few games like that in my library, but I've really been enjoying this one's spin on the Pokemon formula. It is slightly more adult, I guess, in its tone. You know, the story, we are a battle researcher. Our location that we work at is attacked. Now we must find out who are those behind it and understand their motivations. What follows though is an experience very similar to that of old school Pokemon. Think top-down, pixel-styled, and turn-based battles, though here, of course, the monsters are known as Coromon, and there's over 100 of them to uncover. And while I wouldn't say it's bringing too much new to the table, the small tweaks it did make, I enjoyed it. And those changes, turn-based battles for example, they have a stamina system in here. Each move costs something, so we need to manage our Coromon state. And in that way, for me, it's this extra dash of strategy. There's these boss battles as well, known as Titans. These provide a moment of intensity, and it even then has difficulty options, which is really going to be nice for those veterans out there if you want to try a Pokemon styled experience, but one that's going to be a little less forgiving. Really enjoyed this world though, the regions are each unique, and I grew up on titles like Red and Blue personally, so I definitely have a soft spot for this design style, and yeah, it's definitely one I'd consider taking a look at. With a simple story and some fun characters though, it's a great 8 out of 10 from me. Kamawaza, Way of the Thief then, and this one I haven't completed, so no score today, but I just wanted to tell you about my experience this far, what I had, I guess, hoped for, and what I ultimately felt it delivered. The idea, first off, it's great, a stealth adventure that puts you in the shoes of a retired thief that must now return to that line of work when our, let's say, adopted daughter falls sick, so we need to earn money to get her medicine. It's definitely one of those easy narratives to get behind. I went into this one though expecting a Tenchu-like gameplay, and yeah, this one, it's more moments of that mixed with additional exploration, RPG elements, and I know that sounds like a good thing, but for me, the pacing here, this game is just overall, if anything, incredibly slow. It's basically going to put you on a loop, complete mission, steal loot, fill the satchel on your back, and then trade it all for cash. I do want to say here as well, it is an older title getting a re-release. I believe it was the early 2000s, but it's just so clunky. The movement is weak, the stealth you quickly realize is largely unnecessary, and the combat's not worth coming here for. I've ended up walking away after 5 hours. I spent a good portion of that time as well, lost as it gives you very little, and the mission design, it's just extremely repetitive. Go to a hub location of criminals, get pretty much the same idea of mission, steal something and then repeat. Watch out for cops though, because the satchel on your back, it will grow with time as you are stealing more and more, and they definitely have an eye for it. The final pain for me though with this one was if you get caught, it's game over, no jumping back in at that same point, it's back to the last save. Definitely pretty rare. I don't know, I just couldn't get past the struggles with this. It happens for us all, it's just slow burn, lacks any sort of rewarding gameplay loop, or at least in my opinion. And like, I know there's going to be new moves coming up, I know there's actually a good story in here as well, I did check online, I just don't have it in me, I guess, to see it through. And that's the video down. Have you played any of these? Let me know in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on them as well. With that then, like, hit subscribe, join us here for reviews and deals daily, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.